Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Season 8 of Stand Up and Stand Out para te y desde. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Nikki Green. Throughout the past 8 seasons, we have worked to showcase some incredible guests with eclectic backgrounds so you can see that success comes in many shapes and sizes. On our path to episode 100, we have some new inspiring interviews to celebrate this important milestone of our podcast. As I add retreats into my coaching program, I'm looking forward to meeting more of you in person and connecting with you beyond the podcast. I hope you enjoy Season 8, and I look forward to hearing your feedback and comments on the fascinating topics we will cover with each new guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Stand Up and Stand Out para te y desde. We have another amazing guest today that's going to talk to you about some of their exciting career milestones. Welcome, Ricardo, to the show.
Hi, hello, everyone. Hello, Nikki. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm really looking forward to our conversation and to maybe tell you how meatballs changed my life.
That is a fantastic beginning to the story. I really just love this, especially when we're talking about milestones in our career this season, and we're about to get to episode 100 of the podcast. And I really wanted to bring on people that could showcase interesting pivots that happen throughout their lives, good, bad, including meatballs, and see how they impacted us over time. So before we take too much long of either one of us coughing, because both of us have been a little bit under the weather, but hand the mic back over to you so you could share a little bit about your origin story.
Yeah, so right now I'm a coach and mentor for tech and creative people to find what's next in their lives and also to maybe create their solopreneur businesses. But my background comes from the fine arts. Like I study painting, sculpture, all of that, made money with graphic design and branding. Moved to Germany thinking that I was going to be this amazing branding graphic designer with $1,000 in my pocket and just a sofa and no job. That backfired. I realized that was a dying industry. I became an intern again, learned UX design from scratch. And then I had a 12 years career in tech, in innovation and all of that. And then after a big burnout, I realized, what am I doing with my life? And I want something different. And that started the whole journey that brought me here today.
I think that happens to a lot of people is we get set on a path, and sometimes it just isn't what we think it's going to be. And as we're on it, we're kind of like, but I invested all this time, I went to school to do this. But when you get there and it doesn't resonate with you, it's really hard to get up every single day and keep that motivation going. And I love the fact that in your story, you just kept taking that next pivot and you kept building on the experience you had, but to use it in a new way, to have an art background, but to use it in graphic and UX design. I think that's fantastic, and probably something that puts you ahead of some of the other designers because they probably didn't have, that additional expertise.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Nick. I think one of the crucial points of reinventing ourselves and pushing ourselves forward. I mean, you are in the business of helping people also getting to reinvent themselves at the young age and the older age. Is that how do we make sense of our previous experience that brings value to the experience where we are now and brings value maybe to our new employer or our new direction? And a lot of us hide shamefully behind, I did this and I don't want to show, or I don't want, but there's so much knowledge from our previous experience that can contribute to what we are now as a new profession in a new area. And I think that was something that intrinsically I was always able to do, maybe motivated for, I need jobs, I need to move forward. So it was intrinsic, right? But I think one can also do it in a much more intentional way.
So diverse of a background, I think it can also help us. I think we kind of get this homogeneous type of thought sometimes where we all have the same background, we all did the same school, and then the same result happens. Why having this diverse background and different experiences, and for you also culturally different experiences as you moved to Germany, maybe talk about how that transition also kind of played into, how you changed your career and where you chose to live.
Yeah, I mean, it was horrible. In a sense, it was great in another. I mean, this was 2010. So we were in the peak of the economic crisis in Portugal. I was one of the few people that I knew that was at the job, and at the job on top of it, at the job in his what they studied. I was a designer in a design agency, and I was freelancing afterward, after my work day. So it was a bit crazy when I told everybody that I dropped my job and I moved to Germany with no job, with $1,000 and no house, nothing. Everybody, why are you doing this? I was just, because if I stay here, I get stuck. So when I came to Germany, I thought that, I have a diverse background because in Portugal, you get paid to do three jobs. You get paid one job, but you do three jobs. So being this jack of all trades was an advantage. When I came to Germany, was totally the opposite. It's like, what you doing? Yeah, exactly. You need to do the one thing at one time. And so what was an advantage for me in Portugal was the disadvantage in this new culture, the business culture, right? On top of it, my job was very much connected to the culture, to local culture, because branding, advertisement, you need to speak the language, you need to be culturally sensitive to that, which I wasn't. I was not. So I kind of realized, well, I need to reinvent myself. But what? I was doing web design as well. So there was this thing about UX. The only thing I realized, like, you know what, after so many years, I need to become an intern again, which was weird for me. It was weird for the people that hired me. And I got really lucky because people were like, why do you want to be an intern after this? Like, we don't get it. We don't hire you. Then I had a person that doesn't like to be mentioned by name, but I just wanted to say that landed my hand and believed in me and understood what I was going through my life and said, well, I believe you and I understand where that background is going to be helpful in your new career. And that really kickstarted. So if I had somebody that believed me, and I also made sure that how can I show the value of what I did is valuable to this new job.
I love that part of it because I think that sometimes has been the difference in when I've taken different paths in my career as well, is the difference between a manager that believed in me and that saw that potential and pushed me a little bit towards the things they saw I could accomplish that I didn't always believe in myself. And the other managers that were like, yeah, you don't have the following, usual linear credentials and you're not going to be anything. And those managers absolutely, they crush your spirit because, you have that trouble enough, kind of imposter syndrome and those things of, well, maybe I don't, maybe that's the only way to do this. And just having that little bit of extra from a manager who says, no, I can see where this can go for you and give you that optimism, for you to lean into it. You still got to do the work, but just to give you that first step towards that thing, I think is so amazing. So I'm so happy that was part of your journey.
And I really tried to reproduce when I was a manager. And also my teams were a bit of misfits coming not from a very straight path in design background because I could see the potential in them, right? So I think I work with a lot of people who are trying to get new jobs or moving to new jobs. And you can see the struggle, especially when you are this multi-potentialite. I like this term that you can go into multiple directions. Making sense of it needs to be really dissected. So the people on the other side has almost as a very happy meal kind of version of your story. So they can see, okay, I see, how can you help me? So yeah, it's a blessing and a curse.
I think about that, when I went to school, it was sort of like, I was studying it because it seemed like, usual, the thing you were supposed to do. And I never really had like this grand passion for one particular thing. I almost had this passion for like too many things. I wanted to do it all. I wanted to travel, I wanted to do all these things. And everybody else was looking at me like, no, you just go on the path and just follow the path. And for me, that was like, I almost had like an allergic reaction to it. It was just like, I want to do nothing more than like stay on one, linear path, just like everybody else. And so I think I have that same sort of passion as you, is bringing others along, that have this kind of eclectic background to help them see that potential. So I love the work that you do. So now you have a coaching business and you have a really great methodology for helping people tell their career story. So maybe you can share a little bit about that and talk to our viewers about that.
Thanks for asking. I realized that what pushed me forward in my career and what helped me in these reinventations, although I was coming from very technical backgrounds, was never the technical part. I was a crappy artist. I was not the most detailed, patient designer. What I was good at storytelling. I was good at telling good stories. I was good at strategy. I was good at telling my story and show my value or show the value of other things around me. When I had this burnout and I was thinking through what I want to do next, I was stuck into a story that was not mine, and I was stuck into a story. I should be a designer. I should grow up in this career. And I was not allowed to have other stories, right? So it was when I started to do retrospectives about my work, what I did, what I didn't do, that things started to make sense of it. For example, my work was never people per se, because I was always very much on the delivery side of things. And when I was a manager, I was still responsible for the output of my team. But actually, even in art school, I was a crappy artist, but I was good at enabling other artists to do great stuff by creating environments or having a year for them or creating but me as an artist, I was bad. So I realized that throughout my career, what I was good at was with people and working with people. That's also the part that I love, the corridor talk, the challenge they have, and you go for a coffee, and all of those micro moments that could be very samples of what coaching could be, right? I already didn't know what coaching was. That was by analyzing that story that I understand, oh, wait a second, this is what I love to do. This is what I like to do. So what other story can I tell? And how can I make sense of my career to make sense that what makes me a good coach or a good mentor in something that is not artistic or design or business at all?
Yeah, it's such a unique thing. And I think about it too. My brother was a great artist. My brother is still a fantastic artist. He is in the business of doing landscape architecture. And I always remember, even though he was 4 years younger, we'd sit side by side with crayons and things when we were little. And the things he could do already just sort of naturally compared to my little stick figures and stuff I was doing. There was no comparison. But what I did do is I took disparate pieces of things. I'd take something from a magazine and I'd trace something else that was already in a coloring book. And then I'd put it together in a new picture. So I found ways that I didn't have that natural talent, but I could do something else with it. And I think about that with people that I've worked with too. And I think that's one of the biggest challenge I think people have is when they go into a management role, they do think that they're going to have a lot of time to really mentor and help the people that work for them. And what really ends up happening is you are just focused on the output. That's all they measure you on. Like if your employees do well, there's very rarely like, oh, your employee got a promotion, so you get a kudos. And it's like, no, they got a promotion. They're going to surpass you and you didn't do enough. Did you feel that way too? Kind of like you didn't get always the reward for doing that mentorship. And that's maybe part of the burnout section that happened a little bit.
I think I got the reward from the people I was doing for. Like, I think that for sure, organizational wise, no, I don't think so. Yeah. And I think it was also part of especially COVID in between, right? And dysfunctional organization, COVID happening, too much thing at the same time, giving too much. Yeah, that recognition was never given to any of us.
And I see now, everybody's like, oh, everybody's a coach and everybody's out in the industry, but they're very different types of coaches. But I think this is, for me, I see one of the core reasons why so many of us have left to go coach and how critical a function it is for people's careers, because it's not something they're getting from most of their management staff, is for us to really help people get on their path, because we have no obligations of delivery. My only delivery is to make sure that my clients are finding a purpose and they are driven by their career. So I think it's a terrific thing of like, let's just split those two pieces apart. If organizationally these companies want to just have an output focus, then that's what your managers are going to do. And then the employees themselves are going to come to all of us and get the expertise now to figure out what's best for them. And that may not be staying with that organization, right?
Yeah, but I love that take because it's really true. Like this is an industry that is growing, especially I like the way you put it, because people are in search of different answers, are in search of different support that organizations are not giving to them.
Exactly. I know you have this specific method that you use to kind of help people find the story within their career. Maybe share a little bit about that methodology and how you help people.
Yeah. So the career storytelling kit is something that I developed together with clients, right? It surfaced naturally based on my experiences and also based on what clients needed. And so it's a couple of steps. They don't come exactly in the same order. It depends on where the client is. But for example, it started with a superhero drawing. It's harder for us to talk, oh, I'm so great, I do this, I do that. But maybe for some, but it's easier to put on the third person perspective. So when you think about yourself as a character, that's something that I bring from the arts. Okay, we're going to make a drawing about how does your superhero look like? What's your superpowers? What's the stories that comes with? And often that taps into not so much technical skills, but things that makes unique you as a professional, no matter what kind of jobs that you had. Maybe when you're making collages with your brother or running a consulting team, or now there as a coach, you have these superpowers traits that makes you. That's more the soul of it. Then it's good to understand what motivation do you have. So I have this exercise between success and happiness, which is, what makes successful sometimes, what makes us happy, and vice versa. So trying to understand what are the motivations and what really makes us happy work-wise. And then we do the most painful, tedious, long exercise that people like, oh, I hate to do this, but it's so good after it's done, which is the career timeline. It's a canvas that I created where you go experience by experience, even from I had this job in the summer camp when I was 15, and you map out what did you do officially, what did you do unofficially, what was the impact of all of those roles, and you make this timeline. The timeline is great because it shows red threads across your experience. It shows a lot of things that you officially did, but you never paid attention. So actually opens other potential avenues, and it creates a library of stories for you to tell to other people, recruiters, clients, bosses, future employees, right? So in the end, this kit prepares you for two things. One is to define who am I, what do I bring to the table, what makes me happy, what motivates me more, the human part, and what I can deliver. And then there is a second part. Okay, then prove me that you can do it. And then you have this library of experiences that you can say, well, for this job or for this client or for this, I'm going to use this story, that story, and repackaging this in this way. So it's making sense for yourself, but also making sense for the world.
That's really exciting because for a long time I've said the resume is like the worst piece of paper in the world. Like it's the worst design. It tells zero story. It's very hard to read. It's very subjective as to what you think a good resume is. And there's no way it gives you the depth of experience that people actually have. And like one of the big questions people ask me a lot of times is like, oh, well, I belong to this charitable organization or, different types of associations that are interesting to them. Should I put it on my resume? And I say in this day and age, I think all these things that make us this well-rounded person, that give us this color behind the story, are really important nowadays to kind of showcase all those additional things you did. Because like you said, there's one thing about like, here's the job description. And yeah, maybe I could have clocked in and clocked out and just done that. But very rarely do most of us, especially high achievers, ever do that. There's always, and then I did this, and then I had a stretch assignment, and then I also mentored interns or whatever the different things are, right? So I love that. And I love that you, if through the storytelling, can really pull that thread across and see that consistently, this was a passion for you that you did either selectively because that was the job or because you just added it on because you felt like it was important, right?
Definitely. And the other part is like, to which stories do you tell to each person, right? I like this Titanic. What is Titanic for you, the movie?
Right. The crashing boat into the iceberg.
Fair enough. It's a crashing boat to the iceberg, but it's also a love story. So it depends on the crowd, or maybe it's a story about classism, right? And it's a comment on class society. So you have the facts, which is, Titanic is going to crash. You have the love stories, and then you have, how do you present it? You have the trailer, you have the documentary, and you have the full length movie. Is knowing the facts, and then trying to understand which story I'm going to tell. Is it the love story, the class story? And then it's like, to which length do I tell? Is to the recruiter, maybe I tell the trailer, but maybe to the person, to my hiring manager, I tell the full movie. But maybe for the team and the people that want to hire, I need to tell the full movie and the director's cut and the documentary. There's also these levels of granularity that makes a difference when you tell it.
That's really amazing. And I think it's really helpful because most people don't like interviewing. First of all, it's always really kind of a struggle to encapsulate those things. And it's a surprise. You don't know what people are going to ask you. But if you have those kind of, like you said, the trailer, the documentary, and then the full thing, depending on who you're talking to, gives you really good context so that you're ready and you can easily share those moments to answer most questions. So that's fantastic. I love it. And I'm sure you're helping people get really prepared for getting that job that they love and that follows a passion for them. Well, believe it or not, time flies when we're having fun. But I know there's lots more going on for you. So maybe what's coming up next? What's getting you excited? And where can folks find you?
Yeah, what's getting me excited? So I used to run these workshops for career storytelling. They are now becoming a course. So it's going to come up in October. It's a 6 weeks course for career storytelling, which is hopefully a skill that stays with you for the rest of your career. So that I'm excited. It's my first cohort that I'm releasing. And I'm excited to get much better than I feel the last 2 weeks. and yeah, where folks can find me. So I run a newsletter every second week where I can use my illustration skills that I learned in my degree. So make my mom happy when I talk about, life choices, how to find what's next for you and everything. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I think the links will be displayed in the description. And the career storytelling kit is also a free kit that you can download. I will give you can find it on my website in the description.
Fantastic. I know people are going to love this, and I think they're going to get a lot of use out of it. There's a lot of people, especially right now, this year, 2024 has been filled with a lot of layoffs, especially in the tech sector, and people just trying to reinvent themselves and find their next path. So I love that you help people with this, and I'm sure people are going to reach out and want to know more. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been great getting to know you. Can't wait to spend more time together, and we'll see you before you know it. Any last thoughts before we head out?
Thank you. So we didn't talk about the meatballs, but next episode. Thank you so much for having me, Nikki. It was really a pleasure. I think there's so much we could talk. So thank you for having me, and yeah, we hope to see some of your listeners soon. Thank you.
Fantastic. See, we've got a trailer already for the next episode. We're going to talk about the meatball. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today and learning a little bit about Ricardo and about the career storytelling kit and so much more, and how you can creatively use different experiences in your career to find your next adventure. If you guys like this episode, please don't hesitate to like, subscribe, hit the bell, whatever all the things are on the platform where you're listening or watching. And you can catch the next episode wherever the cool kids hang out that do podcasts. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening and celebrating our 8th season and 100th episode. We hope you've enjoyed this week's show. Please don't forget to share your thoughts on this topic with us across our social channels. You can find them at the NikkiGreen360.com. TTFN, this is Nikki signing off.